Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lekshmi. I am I have been working in the education sector for the past 5 years. I transitioned to the sector from after doing a master's in English literature, and my exposure to the sector has been through the fellowship which I did working with the grassroots level education. I have worn multiple hats in the sector from a teacher to a teacher coach and to a mentor. So currently, I am working as a teacher and a teacher coach in a school in Kanpur where I work with rural students. So in today's session, I would like to share my experiences and challenges that I have faced in teaching English in classrooms and some strategies that I have tried out, which has helped me to bridge the gap from teaching English as a subject to developing essential skills in the class. So let's start the session. So, as we all know, English is considered worldwide as a very important language. For me, English represents three main things. First of all, English is known as a global language as it connects the world. It has its own importance in all the domains, especially in business, education, in various other fields. English is also known as the language of academia as students who go for higher education and all the research and publication, all these works happen in English language. And it is also considered as the language of possibilities. It is a language that helps students to connect worldwide with different cultures and also in if they have to go for international career opportunities, it's a language that helps them a lot. But there is a problem that I have faced while teaching English in classrooms, and this is the problem that we are going to discuss today. So, the problem skill versus subject. This is a problem that I have encountered myself as a student and also as an educator. So, why does this happen? The thing that I have noticed is English is often taught as a subject and not as a skill to be lived. When I mean as a subject, we always stress upon the what of the language. That is, what is there in the like the subject, the phonics, the grammar part, the literature, the summaries. This is what, as educators, we tend to focus. And due to some reason, we focus a little bit on the why part. Why are we actually learning this? Or how does this help a student in their future life? Other thing that I have noticed is children often tend to score high marks in English because it's taught as a subject. And when it comes to presenting the language, like presenting or using it in real life, they lack confidence. So, as educators, when we are obsessed a lot with the what part, the subject part, and when we lack on the how and why part, something that happens is students are seen not making the required progress that they should actually make based on the subject knowledge that they have. So I myself consider me as a gardener who is nurturing the plants. Like by plants, I mean the students. So here I have kept the picture of a plant who is not being provided the actual nourishment that it requires to reach their full potential. So what I did in my class was that I took the plant and I put it in a different condition. So by that I mean I offered them the favorable conditions and the nutrients. So when I offered them the favorable conditions and the nutrients, I was able to see the plant flourish and make a great progress in the class. So by this I mean that in my class I intentionally made some shifts. So by the nutrient part, I mean that as I was teaching the concept, the what part, I tried to combine it with the why and how. So initially, it was only the subject or the concept. So I started modeling why are we actually learning this and how can we use this in real life. So after a point of time, I wanted my children to take up those questions and start asking and dig deeper. And I also started encouraging them. One thing that I have noticed is that when we encourage the child by not correcting each and every mistake, but letting them be themselves and try out new things, they make a lot of progress. The next thing I did was listening and observing. I try to observe and listen and understand what are the struggles of my students, what are their strong points, how can I support them. This created a major shift in the way I design lessons. Then the favorable conditions were that I tried to create activities and made a safe space for them to explore. and make mistakes. So these activities were intentionally integrated to help them build their skill and to explore more. And it was a space where they could make mistakes, and from the mistakes, they could learn. So by combining all these things, I tried to make three major shifts in my class. So the first one was that whenever I used to teach something, I followed these three steps. The first one was I teach the concept. So whatever concept I'm going to teach the student, I teach it in the normal traditional, like not the traditional way, I mean the normal way of teaching. Then I try to integrate it with skill development activities. So for each and every concept, I offer them an activity which they can use, which will help them to improve their skills. And I also offer tiered growth opportunities. I provided them with level wise activities which will help them to explore the concept and further better it. So I would like to share my strategies that I have used in my classroom by combining all these things. And I'll take you to some activities that I have tried out in my class. So the first one I want to take you to explore. It's a grammar class that I led in my uh, class. So for the grammar class, what I did was that, like, naturally I taught the concept. It was tenses, so I taught the concept first. After that, a shift that I made in my class was that I designed a worksheet for them, and based on the worksheet, I took the students across the classroom, and I led them to interview their teachers and also the kids from other grades. So, and then after collecting the data, the children came back and then they made sentences on their own. So the level-wise support that I offered for this particular activity was that I designed three different worksheets. It's not a very big change from one worksheet to the other. It's like small tweaks that I made. For children who are struggling to make sentences, I offered them sentence starters which they can could just fill. And children who are doing really better, I gave them sentences for them to come up with space for them to come up with their own sentences. The greatest highlight of this activity was that I could see children taking ownership, and they were very much interested to do this activity. The children who were really shy or who did not know how to present themselves in front of others, I could see them taking showing so much confidence to do this activity. And everybody in my class was able to do this activity and complete this. So they were able to use that skill in their real life, which really helped them to understand why they are actually learning this particular concept. So this is like a differentiated approach that I took in my class for this activity. So I taught them the concept, and I also gave them a space to explore the skill and practice it in real life. This is one of the activity that I tried in my class. The next activity that I would like to show you is the mystery bag activity. So this is a activity that I actually modified based on another activity which I saw in another class. So for this activity, I took some objects which they already know, and I put them in a bag, and I called one of the child, and the child had to pick an object, and without showing the other students, the child had to talk about the object by using adjectives, and also by speaking complete sentences. So this activity was really fun. Children enjoyed a lot. The guessing game was, they liked it a lot. Every child got an opportunity to come and talk about each and every object, and they really enjoyed, and they were able to understand the concept of adjectives in depth. And that was a really a fun and really engaging activity that I did in my class. The next activity was story writing and presentation. So when I initially began the class this year, children were usually struggling to come up with their own stories. They were never confident to write their own stories or come up with their own ideas. So first, I started reading stories to them. Then I started writing stories in their own context, like using cartoon characters like Chota Bheem or Doraemon, which they found very interesting. And after a point of time, I asked them to make stories, and they first they paired up with each other, and in groups they started making small stories. And towards the end of the year, everybody in the class was able to come up with at least a short or a one-page story, with a clear beginning, middle, and end, which was really fascinating to see. Like, I was really surprised and amazed to see the kind of ideas that they were presenting in the class. And I felt really, really proud of my students, the way they were presenting it in the class. The next activity that I would like to show you is Meet the Star. So this is an activity which I tried in my class after teaching the WH question. So for this activity, I made a crown and I called one student and made them sit in the hot seat and I placed the crown. So that child was a celebrity and other children had to ask questions. So each child could ask one question, and at a time, three children could ask questions to the particular child who was sitting in the hot seat. So this activity actually helped them to understand the purpose of studying WH questions. Like, this is something that helped them to frame questions and also to understand how to give answers. So this activity was also very interesting. If you see in my class, the second picture, the child usually doesn't talk much, but in this activity, the child also asked a question, and I felt really happy that day. And it was really amazing to see the progress that they were making. So that was the last activity that I want to share from my set of activities that I have tried. These are some activities that I've picked, and there are other activities also. So the result of this, of doing the skill development or skill integrated class, was that I could see a heightened self confidence in my class. Like, children who are initially not so confident, they became more confident to use the language. Then there was a lot of initiative from the children itself. They started speaking. I could see them having conversations with each other in class, and even when I asked something, they were trying to give responses in English. And like, they wanted to do that, that was coming from themselves. And the next one was the authentic and organic voice. One thing that I noticed in my class was that initially children did not want to share their own ideas. They were not confident. But after a point, they started sharing their own ideas, which was really great. And then the inquisitive mindset. I could see children digging deeper to understand the why and how this can be used in their real life. So this was really amazing. Then the courage to express personal perspectives. So they started telling their own story, something they have seen, they have lived, and they started like weaving that into the responses or into the pieces that they came up with. Then the main part, like moving beyond the lens of a subject. So initially, English was just a subject which is taught in a 40-minute or a 1 hour session, but it became a something more than a subject, something that they could use to express themselves, to talk about things that they want to talk, to write things that they want to write. So that shift was happening in my class, and I have much more to go, but I can see a lot of shift that has happened, like from moving beyond the lens of a subject to making something that uh, to being something that children use to express themselves. So I consider myself, as I was saying, a gardener, and this is my garden where there are different varieties of plants. And based on my experience as a gardener, I would like to share some of the learnings that I had in my this 5 years. So the first one, most important one, is know your kids. You should know what they like, what are their struggles, what they are, where we can offer our best support to them. And don't just follow the book. Adapt to the nutrients they need. By nutrients, I mean what, exactly we should support them, or what support should exactly be being given to them based on the point that they are struggling. That will help them to grow, and creating opportunities to use the skills. So, as educators, we should intentionally create opportunities by creating such spaces which children can use to grow and develop their skills. Then the last one is the quote, and I would like to end this presentation with that quote. That's one of my favorite quote. It's good teachers steal ideas. So by this, I mean that we should realize that we have a very big community of educators outside who are doing the same work as we do, who have tried out and who have faced the same challenges that we face. So as educators, it's a great thing to share our learnings, to connect with people who are working in the same sector, so that we can take ideas from them, we can share our learnings, and based on the need of our class, we can maybe modify certain activities and present it to the kids. The ultimate aim is the children should learn. That should be the ultimate aim, whichever activity we are using. So based on the needs of our class, we should try to modify and use the activity. And the main purpose, which I was saying, moving away from the lens of seeing English just as a subject and to making it as a skill that can be used in our own class. So these were some of the learnings that I wanted to share in today's session. I hope some of the activities will be useful for you. So this was all about the learnings that I wanted to share. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Lakshmi. If you can stop sharing the screen, ma'am.
Yeah.
Wonderful quotation. You said you should steal. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, that's a beautiful one, right? So, what inspired the transition from literature studies to teaching for you, Miss Lakshmi?
So in my case, so education is something that I found. I never wanted to be an educator in the first parts. So I started my journey as a Teach for India fellow. So as I was doing the fellowship, I realized that there is a lot of potential in education sector. So the thing is that like from a long time, from my childhood, I always wanted to be a change maker, but I did not know how to do that. And I found that answer in education. Like I saw the transformative power of education, the way it changes the lives of the children. And that is what made me to stay in this sector for this long time.
So, what specific challenges exist in rural versus urban English teaching?
Yeah. So there are a lot of challenges actually. So some challenges is that the exposure. When we take rural India and urban India, the like the how much of English is being exposed to the children is very less. The number of children who watch something, even an English cartoon in the rural parts of India, is very less compared to an urban setting. And also the number of teachers who actually speak in English. So teachers are a major source which act as an exposure for the children. So the lack of teachers who actually can communicate and present their ideas in English also a problem. And I have also seen the stories or the textbooks or the material that we use. It's all of a high rigor or it's not contextualized according to the setting in which the people in which the children live. So that acts as a barrier for them to connect. So something that I've tried out is writing stories in their own context, which acts as an opener, which gives them an exposure to them, so that later on they can take it and they can go and explore more and learn about world literatures and other stuff. So this is something that I have that I hello.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yeah, I think there was a lag. Right. So, how are differentiated worksheets designed for different learner levels?
So when I talk about differentiated worksheets, something is like as shared in my talk, know your kids. Something that I do intentionally is that just a second, ma'am. There are children here. Hello, ma'am. I'm really sorry about the
No
children
issues.
came here.
No issues. No issues. That's the beauty, right? With the children. They're so naive.
Yeah,
Yeah. So let me
yeah. They
repeat the
wanted to know
question.
what I'm doing.
I
Yeah.
understand. Curiosity next level. Right. So, how were
Yeah.
differentiated worksheets designed for different learner levels?
Yeah. Uh, so as I shared in my talk, the first thing that I do in my class is knowing my kids. Like I conduct so the assessments that we do are ongoing assessments. Like there is beginning of the year, there middle of the year, and there are weekly assessments which happen. And there is like we track the learning of the students and where they are actually in a particular outcome. So based on that, I know what kind of support needs to be given to children, and I group them accordingly. And based on that understanding, I create worksheets. And like as I was sharing, if a child is struggling in making sentences, I will provide them sentence starters, or I'll provide them words which they can look and write. And for children who are good at writing, I will give them prompts accordingly, so they can have different tasks which they will work on. So this grouping and this level of the children only is aware only for the educator, and the children are not aware about that. We don't tell the children that you are in this particular level or anything. We just help them like by providing the required support that will help them reach that level.
So, how did parents respond to the skill-based approach, Ms. Lakshmi?
Um, So in my case, ma'am, the like this the what I have seen is a skill-based approach is something that can be seen like children are showing the results that they are able to speak, they are able to write, they are able to read. So this approach really helps the parents to understand that this is really actually working. It's not about the subject part where children are taught so many question answers and they just they mug up the question answers and then write it. But here we are teaching the skill. They know to decode the question and then come up with answers. So children, the parents are really happy to see that that children are actually developing those skills and they are able to do the uh, like they are able to use it in real life.
So, how much time did activity preparation require weekly?
So in my class, what I do is I plan out the entire month. Like what kind of activity can be clubbed with a particular concept, and that's how I design activity. One of the major challenges which I did not mention in rural school is the lack of resources which happens.
Mhm.
We don't have that much resources, so we tend to use resources which are available to us and create activities. And by planning it monthly or planning it weekly wise, so weekly I keep one activity which the children can use to develop their skill set. And other than that, I focus a lot of these activities in the not activities as such, but give that space in my class itself when I'm teaching something. If the child is trying to speak in English or trying to use a particular like skill set, I encourage them. I ask them to continue doing that, and that encouragement will continue happening to like in all the sessions which I conduct, and I intentionally try to do that.
So, Ms. Lakshmi, each child is unique and each one's needs are different, right? So,
Yes.
were there any students who didn't respond well to this approach of yours?
So till now, I don't see any child who was not responding to my approach. Something I have noticed is that children tend to take different activities differently. Some might be interested in certain kind of activities. Some might not show that much interest. But I try to design activities in a way that is engaging for them. This kind of interviews or this kind of so there is an extended activity which happens where they have to go home and do the same thing. So these kind of activities were actually students took up like very positively. They were really interested to do. And I always try to choose that kind of activities which offers hands-on learning for them. So those kind of activities are really interesting for them.
Okay. So, what role does the classroom size play in activity success? Do you prefer a limited number or does it work with a bigger number too?
So even with a bigger number, so when I started off teaching, I had around 40, 50 kids in my class. Even that time I tried to intentionally use activities in my class. So the number would be something in between 20 to 30 would be an ideal number. But still, as educators, what we can do is we can give that space for the child, create a safe space, let them remain that curious, and that thing can be maintained. That educators can actually encourage the child, appreciate them for their response, and refrain from correcting everything. Like if a child is making a mistake, and if the child is trying that for the first time, like we can encourage them. These kind of small things can be done in any class, is what I feel. So yeah,
So, how sustainable is this approach with curriculum pressures, Ms. Lakshmi?
with curriculum,
Pressure, like you need to follow a
yeah,
set of
yeah.
curriculum, right? You need to finish the syllabi or anything like that. So, how sustainable is this activity-based approach with this curriculum pressure, right? You have the time
Yeah,
constraint. Like, yeah.
yeah. That's a really good question, ma'am. So, what we are doing here is we are not taking the curriculum away. We are trying to find opportunities within the curriculum itself, which will allow us to integrate the skills. So, that's where the planning part comes. When we are planning a month or like for a unit, we can place the activities in certain areas where we have the time to complete the portions, and also we can do the activity. And these are not activities which will take a lot of time. This can be an extended activity. So when we teach a particular concept, anyway, we have a time where we do the worksheets. So before the worksheets, that's where I place these kind of activities where children go and explore, use this particular skill that they learned, and then they come and solve the worksheet. So that gives them a more clarity than just solving the worksheet and moving away from that lens of just being a subject.
Mhm. So, if anyone wants, any other teacher wants to try out this method of yours,
Yeah.
what training would you recommend to replicate this?
So training as such, like if you are asking for a module or something, all these things that I've come up with are based on the experiences that I had and the uh, conversations that I had with different educators. And something that I keep doing continuously even now is I try to look up different activities and different kind of methods in which teachers are teaching across the world, and I try to take those things and keep it with myself. And based on what I'm teaching, I try to see what kind of activity can be integrated where. I don't take so much activities or so many like slots to do this particular method. What I do is certain things I do in every class is intentionally giving them the time to speak. So that speaking time, if we have a larger number, maybe we can use certain other strategies like picking names or having five children speak today, five children speak the other day. So these kind of structures, if it's in place in the class, this will help a lot for the teacher. So it's continuous learning, actually, continuous learning and connecting with other people, which help us to understand what are the best methods that can be used in our own class.
It's great talking to you, Lakshmi. I thoroughly enjoyed the talk. And school
Thank you
reformer,
so much, ma'am.
thank you so much for sharing your knowledge on our platform, ma'am. Anything else you want to mention before I end the session?
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. It was really it's my first and I've never had this kind of a talk before. So I was a bit nervous in the beginning, and when the slide was not like when I was not able to move the slide. And thank you so much for the support. And if you
That
have any feedbacks for me, like something that I can improve in my future for like in this kind of spaces, please do give me those feedbacks. I would really appreciate it.
Sure, definitely. Thank you so much and have a great day. I'll end the session
Thank
now.
you so much, ma'am. Have a great day too.